welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, happy holidays, and we're excited to have you back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, and now FM 98.1. And you can find out more by either going to hometownstation.com, all our podcasts there for the last 8 years almost now. And also you can go to donandgino.com, check out our YouTube channel. We actually YouTube video these, and you'll see our great guests talking about every topic that can guide you to personal and financial wellness. We're talking any topic there is, and we put all these group of professionals into one group called America's Professional Resource Group, aprgi.com. That's right, aprgi.com, which is America's Professional Resource Group, Inc. We're talking trust attorneys, college planners, financial planners, insurance planners, you name it. These are the best. These are people that Gino and I personally use, and you don't know maybe in your life what you may need, but you have it all in one stop, aprgi.com. And today, we're giving you insight of what's going on. You're hearing a lot of rumbling about the potential of a new recession coming on, and that it could be 3 times worse than before. So we brought an expert in that is also a mortgage consultant like Gino and I, lots of years experience, but also he's an author, speaker, and a trainer. And Richard Murphy has decided to join us via Zoom to help give his input of some of the indicators. We just went over what we all felt was the cause of the Great Recession and the mortgage meltdown. And today we're going to now talk about some of the indicators and what changes have been happening in the market and why is the recovery, usually it happens every 5 years or so, now we're into the 12th year of a recovery. Why is that?
All right, Richard. Well, with no further ado, jump in. I guess Don teed you up right there for that question.
Perfect. Teed it up great. And as Don said, a correction is normal. By definition, it's a 10% relaxing, reduction, whatever word you want to use. So if the $300,000 home goes down $30,000, 10% to $270,000, that would be normal. Very few people know that, and so they don't talk about it. And so you have first-time home buyers, it happens to them, and they absolutely they freak out, a lot of them, unfortunately.
Right.
So, and a correction happens every 5 years. We're on year 12. The big question is why. A lot of people have been misled to believe that rates were never going to go up, when we all know that rates going up is actually a good thing. It's a signal of a healthy economy, and that their values will never, ever come down. Trust me. And that's not true either. Right. So we're due for one. It's been 12 years. The big why is primarily that we had something called quantitative easing. We had the crash in 2007. Housing is 75% of the GDP, and so the government said, uh-oh, what are we going to do about this? Oh, I know, we'll just buy a bunch of paper and we'll make it look like our housing industry is just fine, no problems here. So they had one wave of it. That didn't fix it. That was a Band-Aid. It didn't get the job done. They had a second wave. Hey, we ain't going to do this no more. We're going to stop quantitative easing.
Yeah.
We're just kidding. We can't. We got to keep doing it.
Kidding.
So they came out with a third round of quantitative easing, something that has never happened before.
True.
And there was even talk of a fourth. Didn't happen.
That's
but there
right.
was talk of a fourth.
That's right. Thankfully, number 4 didn't happen. They had to let stuff the dust settle. They had to let it settle naturally and then see where we were at truly in the housing industry. And so it's taken 12 years instead of 5 because the government kept buying paper, and they kept us afloat by doing that.
And I'm just going to translate that for our listeners. As the government buys that paper, that's artificial stimulus keeping interest rates low. That's what was happening. So, all those 3.5% loans, 3.25%, 30-year fixed should have never happened. I mean, that was,
that wasn't real.
Not only was it not real, it's bad. Because now a lot of people are trapped. So one of the side effects that we have, and we talked about this before, is that people don't want to sell now because I don't want to sell. I have a 3.5% on my house. If I sell, I'm going to get 5.25 or 5 something. They're like, so they get trapped in these homes now because they love their payment. So now we got an inventory problem. So how do we fix that?
Inventory is always an issue. It has been for several years, and that is what dictates the market. So we're still in a seller's market. There are more home buyers than there are homes to buy. And you're right, the rates are low and people are reluctant to sell. If real estate agents really got a hold of just this one thing of watching the 2-year and the 10-year, and when it inverts, then this, then they can go with education instead of, hi, I'm Joe, the real estate agent, you want to sell your home. No, the sky is never going to fall. So the real estate agent and loan officer, when they can come from a point of educating the home buyer, the home seller in this case, homeowner, then they stand out from everybody else. They come across as true professionals because now they're talking real life stuff to those people. And in fact, now is the perfect time to sell.
Yeah,
perfect time to buy also.
So you touched on the 2-year and the 10-year. Most people don't look at the bonds, right? We're bond sensitive. We're looking at bonds all day long. But
Sure.
most people don't look at bonds, and so they don't know what a 2-year and a 10-year bond are like and what their relationship means, and what do we see as a signal because of these two, and what are they doing right now that's kind of maybe a little bit alarming to some?
Sure. Well, I'll kind of take a sidestep and then come back in. It's the Fed rate. There are some loan officers, as I've traveled the country over the last few years and asked them what is driving our mortgage rates. I've had some very inexperienced, and that doesn't mean only 6 months in the industry. Alarmingly, there are people who have been in the industry as long as we have been, and they're looking at the Fed rate. Well, that's just bonkers. So imagine a spider web. You've got the Fed fund rate, which, as you know, was left alone. It was near zero for a long time.
Like 8 years.
Like 8 years. Right. That's never been done before.
Right.
And so it's all false economy, pie in the sky. If we look at the Fed fund rate, it's been raised 3 times in 2018. The Fed are going to raise it again in 2019. Investors have factored all of that in. The big question is, are they going to continue doing it in 2019? And why is that a big deal? They do, it's all kind of connected. So if they raise the Fed rate, there's a 1 year, there's a 2 year, there's all of these treasuries that you got to look at, the yield for them. But the 2 and the 10, most specifically, the Fed rate feeds into the 2 year, which when inverted and goes higher than the 10 year, you're going to have a market correction. So yeah, the Fed rate is important, but it doesn't drive mortgage rates. It drives credit cards, auto loans, stuff like that.
Right, shorter term
Stuff.
Right.
So the loan officer and even the real estate agent really must have a basic handle on this stuff so that when they go on a listing appointment, when they're sitting in front of a buyer who says, gee, I don't know, I think I'm going to wait for the $400,000 house to be worth $200,000, and I think I'm going to wait for the 5.5% interest rate to be 3.25% again.
Oh.
That ain't going to happen.
Nope.
Right.
Can't happen.
And if it does,
we got problems.
Bad news.
We will have major problems.
For
and that's what
everybody.
Don, I think it was you who said earlier in the show, the infamous they like to put out lies to scare people, and it keeps them kind of deer in the headlights, which is good for them, bad for Bob and Betty borrower. So if the loan officer and real estate agent, again, just have basic knowledge on this stuff, they don't have to be experts. When they're sitting in front of a borrower and they're pre-approving them for a loan, or the agent is talking to somebody about buying a house or selling a house, and they can explain this stuff in basic terms, you don't want to get too intricate because the people to whom you're speaking, they don't understand it.
Right.
And you don't want their eyes rolling into the backs of their heads. This is basic stuff that when a real estate and or mortgage professional have the basics down pat, they can explain it well to a borrower, a seller, somebody like that, then they will stand out from the rest of the crowd. They'll be the true professional, and they're going to get the business because it raises trust factor, up to the ceiling.
Okay, so Richard, when we come back, I want to talk about 2 things because we kind of tiptoed and danced around it. So, our price is going to go down in 2019,
Right.
and are we heading into a recession? Those are the 2 questions that I want to address in the next segment.
Okay.
And we'll add
probably have
into it,
different.
is the recession always bad?
That's true.
Because a lot of people think it's the end of the world, but maybe not. We need corrections at times.
Absolutely.
Just like in the stock market and in the housing market. So why don't we touch base so that all of you out there will get a really good grasp of where we're at, and hopefully help you understand where the media is going to spin things so you're educated and not afraid. You're just educated on what's really, where the real direction is, and how we can watch the direction of it based on real trends, real numbers, and facts, and the past, so that you're educated and not afraid. Education is an amazing thing. The only time you have fear is when you're not informed. Let's make sure you're informed. So stay tuned for the second half of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. We have Richard Murphy, trainer, author, speaker, mortgage consultant just like us, going to help us guide you down the right path and educate you on what's really happening in the real estate and financial world. We'll be right back.